understanding of the main ideas, the links, the unspoken, not explicitly stated meanings. And there were other students who were focusing on the facts and the details that they can remember from the text. So they called the first as a deep approach to learning. And the second one hello? Okay, surface approach to learning. Technology. Even after 2 years in the pandemic and using vocab system, still making us sweat. So in a way, the deep approach to learning is understanding the underlying connections, the complexity of the thinking, being critical, being evaluative, being asking questions about the text, right? And it really sounds like something of 21st century learning, right? So can we have a show of hands if you think that the aim of a school in the 21st century should be to help students understand complex situations, to think for themselves, to be critical, to understand the main ideas, not just to recite the fact. So can we see a show of hands if you agree? Lots of people. Okay. More difficult question. Do you think the Malaysian education system and Malaysian schools are promoting deep learning? Show me hands. The teachers are, but not the system. Okay. It's a lot fewer hands. And actually, this has been proven by the PISA test in 2018. You know, the PISA test, international test, measures mathematics, science, reading. So in the 2018 PISA test, what we found is that 2% of the students from Malaysia can model complex situations mathematically, select, compare, and evaluate appropriate problem-solving strategies. Only 2% of the students from Malaysia. How about science? In science, only 1%. Only 1% of Malaysian students are capable to creatively and autonomously apply their knowledge of and about science in unknown situations. 1% of all students. And how about reading? Reading is much closer to us, right? Developing reading skills. PISA couldn't even calculate a percentage. So Malaysian students were not top performers in reading. So that makes you think what's happening in schools, right? When I was doing and preparing for this talk, I was Googling about the PISA results. Not easy to find. And what I found, this is a screenshot what Google offered me in this order. And interestingly, I don't think that you can read it, but the New Straits Times and the Star were extremely positive about the PISA results. The Star even said that Malaysia on course to break into the top 30% in the PISA rankings. We are still in the bottom 30. Okay? Unfortunately. New Straits Times is happy that the results have been becoming better. But at the same time, we have people who say decline in Malaysia's education performance. Or what's wrong? Why is Malaysia underperforming the PISA? So when I saw these reports from the same year, they're all from 2019, it started to make me think, why do these people look at the same results interpret the same results so differently? What can be the reason? And I think the reason is that they interpret learning differently. It's always fascinating for me to see that teachers are more concerned about teaching than learning. When I was working with novice teachers, and I asked them the question, what is learning? They look at me and, learning? I'm not sure. Okay, you're going to be teachers. What is learning? So learning is a very elusive phenomenon. It's very difficult to define. And we use many metaphors and images to describe learning. For example, we talk about depth, like deep learning. You know, she has a deep understanding when he's such a shallow learner. We use height. She's a high achiever, or he has low scores. We also use light, brilliant, a little dim, or students are bright. We use speed, quick learner, slow learner. We use acuity, or sharpness. He's sharp, she's dull. We use capacity, how much you can hold. That student has lots of smarts, or the other is lacking in something. We even use something like a mystical bestowal. Okay? Talented, gifted, like someone has intelligence, or someone is creative. You know, you can't do anything about it. You either have it or you don't. Personally, I think it's a very dumb idea to think that somebody can be born creative or intelligent. It's got nothing to do with anything else. But what do all these metaphors tell us about learning? Why do we have so many? There are two researchers from from Canada actually, who say that this variety of images show that we still don't have a deep understanding of learning as a phenomenon. Irony here is that we are still using the image of deep, right? So if you don't really understand learning, how can we empower teaching for deep learning? Or maybe language learning is different from any other kinds of learning. So what is language learning? Something that you need to ask yourself. And I think we are in a slightly easier position when we want to define language learning, because we can break it down into two stages. At one stage, we have automatization, because language is a skill, right? So you have to automatize action. You have to build muscle memory, so that you don't have to think about how to say things, but you focus on what you want to say. You overlearn structures. English is not my first language. I started learning English when I was 14 in secondary school. Actually, I wanted to learn French in secondary school, but I was told that French is only offered in all girls' classes. And at that young age, I didn't realize the potential of being the only boy in a girls' class, so I decided to learn English. Maybe it's for that. So in skills learning, you have to automatize things, but there's a chance that if your students get stuck at this stage, they will not develop their full potential. I started my career in a primary school in Hungary. And when I got my first class, I started with getting to know the students. You know, what they like, what they don't like, usually chit-chat we have. So I asked them, do you like music? And they say, yeah, they like music. So I asked one of the boys, what's your favorite pop group? And he said, the Colossal Oranges. Have you heard about them? 90s? Colossal Oranges? Okay. So I asked another student in class, what's your favorite pop group? And she said, the Colossal Oranges. I said, wow, it's a whole group of Colossal Oranges fans here. I have no idea what that group was. Absolutely no idea. So after class, I was looking through the materials that the class has been using. And in their textbook, I found a dialogue between a radio DJ and the listener. And it went something like that. Hello, good morning, what's your name? Good morning, my name is Jim. Hello, Jim. What's your favorite pop group? The Colossal Oranges. So the students learned that the correct answer to the question, what's your favorite pop group, was the Colossal Oranges. So it's a little bit over-learning the structure, and the students couldn't move beyond that to come up with their own meanings. So the second stages of learning is when you focus on creativity, when you're focusing on the meaning, when you are trying to move beyond the mechanical production of language structures and vocabulary and try to express meanings that you want to express. When you move away from what you have learned and apply your knowledge in a new context. And creativity is an extremely important aspect of human language. Human language is productive. It is the only language system where we can come up with new words and new expressions. So we add to the symbols that we use to communicate. That's the only language. Animals cannot do that. A dog will not go over to the neighboring dog and say, hey, I've come up with a new woof. Would you like to hear? It's impossible. Only we can do that. And we actually do it quite often. So this word comes from a student. People shall. Can you guess what it means? What do you think the student wanted to say when she said, people shall? Any ideas? What can a people shall be? Everybody's like, I didn't come here this morning to be quizzed. What is a people shall? You can give me any answer. What's your guess? What's your best guess?
Family portrait.
Family portrait. As a people, not bad, but it's not the correct answer. A coffin. Too early for that. Human trafficking. What's wrong with you people? I mean, you people positive. It's learning. Yeah, this is a vocabulary item. People organization. Okay, they're getting closer. There's something to organize people. You want to know what a people shop is? It's a sofa. You put people on the sofa like you put books on a bookshelf, right? So this is creativity. When you come up with new language. Okay, this was not in the course book. I assure you. But creativity in language learning is also a very, very important tool because it helps you to compensate for the lack of linguistic ability. And you don't have the vocabulary, you don't have the structure. It is creativity that helps you still communicate your messages. Okay? There was a story of a Chinese tourist in KL who wanted to buy chicken, but he couldn't remember the word chicken. So he picked up an egg Went to the shop assistant and asked, "Where is mother?" He was shown where the chicken were. Does it work? Yes, it works. Is it creative? Very creative. So it's not about communicating in perfect grammar. It's not about choosing the right words. It's more about how you combine what you have already learned in a way to express the meanings you want to create. So what does it have to do with deep learning? Going back to this image of deep learning, I think one of the things that we need to consider is, if you're talking about deep learning, is the shallows, right? You cannot just take students to the deep without going through the shallows. Teaching is not throwing the students in at the deep end. Learning is not a swim or sink situation, or it shouldn't be. In some cases it is, unfortunately. Like for me, when I was in primary school, my teachers didn't recommend that I go to a secondary grammar school because they thought that I wouldn't survive there. They told me that I should learn to be a bricklayer or a carpenter because secondary grammar school might be too difficult for me. When I was in secondary school and my teachers heard that I want to go to university, they said, "Oh, sorry, not for you." You know why? Because I found school boring. I learned in other ways. I didn't learn the subject in their silos. They're not interesting for me. I could learn. I got an A in chemistry once, and I made a bet with my best friend whether I can get an A in chemistry. And the bet was quite significant, the bar of chocolate. So I couldn't afford to lose the bet. So I studied, I got an A. I studied more, I got an A. Studied more, I got an A. You should have seen my chemistry teacher. She was so excited. She said, "Finally, you're interested in chemistry." I said, No, I'm interested in the chocolate." Okay? Because we were thrown in at the deep end. And if you sunk, that's your problem. Okay, nobody's there to pick you up. So what does the shallows do for language learning? This is the place where you build confidence, when you learn in a safe environment how to express yourself, when you play with the new sounds, which might be difficult, when you learn how to write in a writing system that might be different from your writing system. Okay? Confidence is important for language learning. This is where you experiment with language, when you are allowed to make mistakes, and you are discovering how language works. Okay? That's the challenge, because it's safe. You can make mistakes. And this is where you practice. You practice a lot. Again and again and again. But let's not forget that we have a few students in class. And you need to guide them through the shallows, right? And each of these students will take a different route into the deep. And here comes the tricky part. You don't see what's below the surface. So maybe one student's walking to the deep, they have a sandbank. And it's very easy to walk in ankle deep water. For the other student, there's a sudden drop. And they struggle to keep their head out of the water. For one student, the bottom is sandy. For the other student, the bottom is rocky. It's very difficult to go up. So what it means that even in the shallows, learning for every student is unique. Learning for every student is unpredictable. So when you are setting learning objectives for the whole class, I don't think that you are able to achieve that. Because every single learner will learn something different in the same class. Therefore, thinking about a metaphor for learning. You remember how many different ways we can visualize what learning is? Depth, height, speed, everything. This is why we have so many metaphors. Because one student can be a quick learner in one class and a slow learner in the other class. You probably heard about teachers comparing notes. Oh, you know Cindy in my class? She's such a good learner. And the other person says, Cindy, she doesn't do anything. She's a big dumb, or dim, or slow. Because they are learning differently. So instead of using these metaphors and images, I think it's better if we use something else. I think it's better if we try to find a framework that helps us understand learning in a little bit more organized and principled way. And this is where complex dynamic systems come into the picture. How many of you have heard about complex dynamic systems? One. Ooh, okay. Have you guys seen the first Jurassic Park?
Yes.
Do you remember the funky professor who was invited to evaluate the system? He was a professor in chaos theory. Chaos theory was an older name from complex dynamic systems. Okay? Complexity science, complex dynamic systems, chaos theory, all refer to the same thing. It all started in the 1940s, very early on. But in language teaching and language learning, it's quite new. The first paper that talked about complex dynamic systems was Dale and Freeman's paper in 1997, where she talked about language acquisition to be a complex dynamic system. And then in 2001, we have Scott Thornberry and Luz Meddings teaching unplugged, or dogma teaching. I'm not sure if you heard about that. So dogma teaching holds that we should not rely on teaching materials too much. Okay? Your teaching should not be decided by the project writer. You should teach the students and not the textbook. Okay? So this is where dogma teaching is coming from. And learning will emerge in the classroom. Then we also have Leo von Leer, the ecology of language learning from 2004. So he's thinking about that learning is an ecosystem and everything is connected. And if you take away something, the system will change. If you add something, the system will change. And finally, from 2015, we have Volta Dernier, another Hungarian, by the way. There's always a Hungarian. Volta Dernier, Henry and McIntyre. People looking at language learning motivation as a complex dynamic system. So complexity theory is gaining ground in applied linguistics in our field. And I think it's best suited to explain language learning and language teaching. And I'll tell you why. So what is complex dynamic systems are like? The first thing is that they are interconnected. Like in any system, there are many different parts interacting with each other. And they are connected. Very densely connected. Think about a classroom situation. You've got like 35, 40 students, right? You scold one student. Cheryl, you were late. It's directed to one person, but it has an impact on the whole class because the class is interconnected. You praise someone, you scold someone, it doesn't have an impact on only that student, but on the whole class environment. Another thing very closely connected to that one is nonlinearity, which means that the sum of a system is always more than the sum of the individual components. So let's go with this class metaphor. If you put one student, another student, another student, another student in the same group, they are all different. But as a group, they behave somehow differently as you would expect from the individual students. Okay, so it's all adds up. You might have heard about the butterfly effect, right? That was developed by an American meteorologist, Edward Lorenz, when he tried to come up with long-term weather forecast. Do you think he was successful? Have you seen the weather report nowadays? They can't forecast weather long-term. It's impossible. So what he did, he had an analog computer in his basement lab at MIT. And he programmed the computer with certain factors like temperature, humidity, air pressure, wind strength. And he programmed it in a way that if there's a change in one of the numbers, the other numbers will always change. Think about like air pressure. Air pressure will influence wind direction and wind speed. Because air goes from the high pressure areas to the low pressure areas. So his colleagues used to go down to the lab and place bets on how the numbers will turn out the next day. And nobody could win. They couldn't predict how the numbers will turn out. So this is where Lauren said that the puff of wind that a butterfly's wings make in the Amazonia rainforest can generate a tornado in the American Midwest. A tiny bit here, you'll have unexplainable huge results in another part. And that takes us to unpredictability, like how the computer works now. So unpredictability, because it's nonlinear. And also unpredictable because you don't know what's going to happen. Again, when I was working as a primary school teacher, I remember one particular lesson where I was teaching this class, and the teacher's desk was pushed to the first student desks. And I was standing next to my desk. I didn't sit down. And there were two students, just like now, and one of them was very talkative and chatting with his friend. So as a beginner teacher, I learned that the best strategy would be is to stop everything I'm doing, be quiet, and then the students will realize that there's a problem. Because if the teacher's voice is not in the background, people will look up. What happened? So I stopped. And I waited. The class was slowly becoming quiet, except for the boy in the first desk. I was still waiting, looking at the student. He actually turned to face his spot. At that moment, one of my students from the back of the classroom stood up, without a word, walked to the front of the class, slapped this student, without a word, turned back, went back to his seat, and sat down. I didn't expect that. I didn't know what to say. Shall I thank him? But we are not encouraging fighting in the classroom, right? So it was like, all right, let's move on now. But that's what you can expect in a classroom every single day. Yeah. You don't know what's going to happen, or you don't know it for 100% certainty. in the classroom. Emergence. So now you're saying that, okay, so if learning is unpredictable, what are we going to do with it? In this unpredictable system, order will always emerge. Not for long. Order emerges, then it dissolves. Think about you learning about a new topic. You do your reading, right? After you've done your reading, you say, oh, I understand. Then you make the mistake to read more. And then you say to yourself, I'm confused. I don't know what this is talking about. And you read a little bit more, and then you say, so this is how it works. So there's order, there's learning, and then there's disorder when you're confused. And there's order again, and then disorder. Okay? So order emerges, new connections are made within your knowledge that helps you understand what's happening. And the final thing here is dynamic change. Learning always changes. Learning is never the same. And we cannot have the same learning in the classroom. So this is why I think that complex dynamic systems is probably one of the best theories that explains learning and teaching. And also because I find it fascinating. Actually, I really love complex dynamic systems. If you want to read about it, there's a book from 1986 by James Cleek. And the title is Chaos, the Birth of a New Science. And it explains in a very readable, easy way how different people are applying complex dynamic system theory. So if you accept this, and this is learning, so how does it go back to language teaching and language learning? So you can think about it that learners are acquiring certain bits of language, like grammar and vocabulary. So they are creating links as they are learning these things. Okay? The links are not too strong, and the whole system is not very connected. So they don't know how to apply what they know in other circumstances. Like, I was doing teacher training in Iraq in 2006, right after the war. And I remember one of the Iraqi ministry officials came up to me and said, hello, how are you? I'm fine, thank you. In one breath. Hello, how are you? I'm fine, thank you. I was like, hi? I don't know how to respond to that. You have already answered a question I haven't even asked. Because he connected certain things that they should go together, and in that particular order. Okay, so it's an automatic response. So that's what you have. So basically, if you're working on that, you're only working on the which part of language learning? You remember earlier? The mechanics of language learning. But you are not working on how to create individual unique messages. For that, you need to make new connections. You need to allow your learners to form new connections, to come up with novel expressions and novel ways of saying things. The more connections your students create, the better they are equipped to use language in a complex way, to use language in situations that they haven't been in before, use their knowledge in ways that they haven't been prepared for. And you remember the PISA ranking? This is what Malaysian students seem to be lacking. So if you ask me what deep learning is, I would say that when you develop your learners' creativity, you are enabling them for deep learning. So creativity in the language classroom enables deep learning. I'm not going to tell you how to do that. You don't have that much time. Okay? How much time do you have? 10 more minutes? Okay. I can tell you how you can create an atmosphere in the classroom that will promote creativity. One of the things is that you have to create a relaxed, non-judgmental atmosphere. And this is what Desmond was talking about earlier, if you attended this session. If in your classroom students feel safe to experiment with language, if you are focusing on what they are trying to say rather than how they are saying it, if they are not worried about being corrected in front of all their peers, then their answers and language input is going to be more creative. Okay, so it's important that the students feel that you are working with them rather than instructing them. You are part of the ecosystem of the classroom. You are one of the learners in many ways, and not just the teacher. You can also use activities that are built on constraints. When I talk about creativity, many teachers I see nodding, and then I see them thinking to themselves, yeah, but I can't do that in my classroom. Because I have the exams. I have exams to do that for. Okay, so it sounds good, it's excellent, but not in my classroom. The thing is that exams give you an excellent opportunity to prepare students for creativity. Creativity is not freewheeling. Creativity needs constraints. And only one idea of creativity is that you think outside the box. You should also learn how to think inside the box. This is what Buddha was calling conceptual places. Think about Japanese haikus. Do you know Japanese haikus? How many lines? 3 lines. How many syllables? 575. Excellent answer. Go to the top of the class. They organize haiku competitions. Everybody has to keep to the 575 structure, and still creativity prevails. Okay? So you keep to the structure. The structure allows you to use creativity. Students don't need to worry about what shall I write about. You give them exactly what they should write about, and do that creatively. Doesn't work in Singapore, by the way. Anybody here from Singapore? Before I insult anybody? I used to work there for 9 years. In Singapore school, kids are taught to show, not to tell. So every Singaporean child during their school career will come up with a sentence that magnolia clouds were floating across the azure skies. Yeah. But everybody does that because they learn that they have to show rather than tell. Does it develop creativity?
Show not tell.
Not much. You are playing by the after a bribe. You can build a creative classroom climate if you are doing things differently. Use different input. Use different working modes. Use different speed. Use different activities. If you tend to teach from the front of the class, go to the back and ask your students to come back. And they will have a completely different lesson. Okay? Take them outside of the classroom. Do a lesson in the library or in the park. You have to give them a variety because variety helps build creativity. Variety helps them to make new connections between what they know. Okay? If they do the same thing again and again, they're going to be bored, and that's not helpful to creativity. I like nasi lemak, but if I eat nasi lemak every single day, I'm not going to feel very good. Then use creative input. One of the things that we don't do as language teachers enough is to use drama, music. This morning we had a presentation about songs and music. Film literature, poems, as our input to the students. One of my favorite poems that I sometimes use for training is by Malachi Edwin Beckman. Oh, your teacher. Okay. I have known him since 1999, so probably before you were his student. And here's a poem of him, A Wondrous Sight. It might be too small to read, but what it says is, such a wondrous sight, a sight for national unity, watchers. He eating fried meaty chopsticks and she nuzzling up with fingers. The young man skillfully maneuvered chopsticks without letting slip a thread. The young woman expertly coordinated her hands and mouth, getting every grain in. The meal almost over, they made plans to tell their parents. A perfect poem from the Malaysian classroom. Because it is not about eating. It's about racial harmony. It's about racial tension. It's about different cultures. So you can get a lot out of this poem. And in Singapore and in Malaysia, I noticed that teachers tend to self-censor themselves. Teachers tend to avoid topics of race, religion, ethnicity, because these might be sensible topics. But if you don't talk about that, you're not preparing the students for life. So it's important. Another thing that you can do is use humor in the classroom. Most of the jokes are based on answers or punchlines that you don't expect. Like an old lady telling her friend that, yesterday I sent my husband to the garden to pick some peas for dinner, and then he just dropped dead in the garden. And the other lady says, "Oh my God, what did you do?" She says, "I had to open a tin of pins." Too early. So her husband died. What did you do? I had to open a can of peas because he didn't bring the fresh peas from the garden. Okay, don't worry, I'll chew it for you. I'll explain. But humor is an excellent way of bringing in creativity in the classroom. You can ask your students to create memes. Yeah. I used to work in China for 2.5 years. And of course, I was learning Mandarin. Okay? My first ever meme was written in Mandarin, which shows you that even with limited language, you can play with language. So this was my meme. This is Theresa May. You remember her? Yes? Luckily, we only remember her. You don't have to listen to her on TV. So this is Theresa May. And this is Theresa Mayo. Mayo is no F. Okay? So I was so proud of my joke, and I showed it to my Chinese teacher, and she said, "Not bad, not bad." So it means that you can play even with limited language knowledge, and you can use language creatively. Now the final thing, is that you should never underestimate your learners. Some teachers draw a parallel between language proficiency and creativity or intelligence or other things. If the students cannot express themselves, they're not good students. That's not true. They just don't have the language. So don't underestimate them. Challenge them. And if you use multimodal texts, where they can combine visuals with language, they can compensate for the lack of language knowledge they have. Just like my memes. People think I'm fluent in Chinese. Far from it. My Chinese is limited to taxi driver Chinese. Yijizhou, go straight. And the final thing is you have to be a role model. Your students are not learning what you teach. Your students are learning you. They remember you and not what you have taught. So if you are a creative person, if you are doing things in a very interesting, exciting way, that's what they are going to do with their language. So be a role model. If you're a creative teacher, your students will be creative. No doubt about that. So, because time is running out, a bit of further reading for you. Shameless self-promotion. I published a book with Alan Maley, 2018, with the title Creativity and English Language Teaching, from Inspiration to Implementation. One of the things that some of the reviewers say is too exhaustive. It gives everything, which I'm very proud of. So we look at different theories of creativity, different ways how you can be a creative person before you become a creative teacher. Okay, and some research on creativity. These are the other things that I have used in this presentation. And before I finish, I have to make an acknowledgement. I know that in this conference I have seen quite a lot of people are talking about technology. And the current buzzword is AI, right? Yeah. We even had a talk about ChatGPT. Yeah. Who is going to do the talk? Yay, my man, ChatGPT. So I also have to make an acknowledgement at this point that in the development of this talk, I had some help. Because my cat did everything it could to sabotage my preparation. As you can see, he was lying across my PowerPoint printouts, so I couldn't take notes. So he's a cat GPT, a generously purring talent. And with that thought, I'd like to thank you for your wonderful attention. That's my email. If you have any questions, you can email me, but I believe we still have some time for question and answer. Anybody would like to ask a question? I'm more happy to give an evasive answer.
Okay, first of all, thank you so much for your interesting input just now, Prof. One of the phrases of yours just now catch my attention that I would like you to elaborate more on. When you mentioned about don't rely too much on teaching materials, what do you mean by that? Thank you.
Sometimes teachers feel that they have to cover the syllabus. Sometimes they feel that the measure of success is how far they got in the textbook. So they go ahead, regardless of whether students are able to catch up or they do things. It's a bit like sort of building a house. You put down a first layer of bricks, second layer of bricks. We leave the next one out, okay, it's not necessary. Then the third layer, then the fourth layer, leaving gaps. What will happen with the building? It will collapse, right? So you have to work with your students and use teaching materials as a resource, as a help. But teach the students, don't teach the books. I think that's a very important thing to know. Any other questions? Something, okay. You want the microphone or your?
Hello, testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm quite interested when you share about the use of humor in classroom. But sometimes students tend to focus much more on the humor part, neglecting what's the content of our whatever things that we're teaching. So how do we integrate humor in teaching itself?
I think it's a good question, and I think you always have to look for teachable moments. And sometimes things get out of hands. Does it worry me? Not really. Because once the students, the faculty filters are lowered, and they feel happy and safe, they will probably learn a lot more than they are quietly sitting at their desks taking laborious notes. You have to allow learning to evolve. There was a paper a couple of years ago I read about comparing two teachers. One who had a very strict lesson plan, minute by minute, second by second. And she was a very effective teacher. The other teacher did not have a lesson plan. She had intentions for learning. And she took the class where the class went. And guess what? She was a very successful teacher. Okay? So you can learn how to improvise. If the class is taking jokes a little further, this is where you feel your constraints. So how far can we go? Where does this skill contribute to my aims and intentions? So for example, setting them tasks like create a meme is a good way to ask them to play with language. Come up with new words. Use a blank cartoon and ask them to write a caption. Okay? So in a way you can give them a framework and then let humor work within that framework. Okay. Maybe one more last question before the conference is officially open. This is the unofficial part. No questions? Then thank you again and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you, Associate Prof. Dr. Tamas, for the interesting input. I hope all the teachers here will learn something from Prof. So thank you very much for coming. We do want, if we are going to have the next conference, we would like to invite you as well. Do you guys agree? Alright, okay, thank you very much. Next, we move on to, I would like to invite our President of Delta, Mr. Zanuri, to give away the cert. Okay, alright. We would like to invite Tuan Suriati to give away the cert. Yeah. Thank you, Prof. So that's all for today's keynote. Pass it back to the Prof.
Hello. Hello everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, the following are the announced aspects of the event proceedings for our collective action. Attendees are requested to stand when the arrival of the Honorable Dr. Taufik bin Johari is announced, along with the Honorable guest, and remain standing for the singing of the Negara for the singing of Negaraku and the Kedah State Anthem. Please ensure that your mobile phones are turned off or set to silent mode throughout the duration of the event. And lastly, we kindly ask all attendees to minimize movement. If you need to leave, please ensure that your path does not disrupt the event proceedings. Now let's just wait for the arrival of our honorable guests. Everyone, please take your seat now. Get ready, everyone. Announcing the arrival of our special guest of the day, the Honorable Dr. Muhammad Taufik bin Tan Sri Johari, Member of the Parliament of Sungai Petani, accompanied by Mr. Ahmadi bin Abdullah, Deputy District Education Officer, Learning Sector, Kuala Kedayan District Education Office, representing Kedah Education Department, and Mr. Zanurin bin Muhammad Safa, the President of Delta. The singing of Negaraku and the Kedah State Anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good morning, I bid to the most honorable guest of the day, the Honorable Dr. Muhammad Taufik bin Tan Sri Johari, Member of the Parliament of Sungai Petani Kedah, Mr. Ahmadi bin Abdullah, Deputy District Education Officer, Learning Sector, Kuala Muda District Education Office, representing Kedah Education Department, Mr. Zanurin bin Muhammad Safa, the President of Delta, Darul Aman English Language Teacher Association, the respected keynote speakers, and last but not least, my fellow English language educators from all over Malaysia and other foreign countries. Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to all of you to this esteemed gathering, the first Delta International Conference on English Language Teaching 2023. It is with great pleasure and honor that I stand before you as your MC for this remarkable event as we gather here to celebrate the importance of lifelong learning and explore the dynamic field of English language teaching. With the aim to enhance quality input among English language educators, the theme for this conference is Empowering Teaching for Deep Learning, Global Perspectives for Best Practices. Ladies and gentlemen, for your information, throughout these 2 days, we have the incredible opportunity to engage with some of the brightest minds and passionate educators in English language teaching field, as we are joined by not only English language educators from Malaysia, but also international presenters and participants from other countries. Due to that, we envision this conference as a transformative space where the exchange of knowledge and experiences ignites a powerful spark within each of us. We hope that it fosters your learning, provides mutual encouragement, unwavering support, boundless motivation, and profound motivation and inspiration. Together, let us embark on a journey of personal growth, embracing the limitless potential within us, and emerging as the finest manifestation of ourselves as English language teachers. Let this event be the catalyst that propels us towards the greatness and fuels our unwavering commitment to self-empowerment and self-improvement. Once again, I extend my heartfelt welcome to each and every one of you. Thank you, and let the conference begin. Ladies and gentlemen, now I would like to call upon Mr. Ahmad bin Ismail to lead the prayer recitation.
Assalamualaikum. Fatiha. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, praise be to God, the Lord of the world. Peace and blessing be upon our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions, and for those who follow his example till the judgment day. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, on this blessing morning, in conjunction with the Assoc 2023, the first Delta International Conference in Language Teaching, we beseech thee and grateful towards you in favor of all the infinite blessing to us, your humble servants. We seek blessing for flawless progress and success in this event from the beginning to the end. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, we pray that you give us ongoing commitment to embrace ourselves in lifelong learning. With a new knowledge, insights, and exposure, we hope that we can be better English language educators who can give the best to our learners. We seek your guidance to steer clear of the event that will be detrimental the progress of this event. Ya Munzil Ya Barakah, bestow peace to our beloved country Malaysia, preserve us from any threat and disaster. And to you, Allah, we ask for security and prosperity upon us, our leaders, and our country. Bestow patience in us in order to face the challenges from you. Please accept our deeds and rewards us with barakah and rahmah. ربنا عليك توكلنا وإليك أنبنا وإليك المصير. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Ameen, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Thank you, Mr. Ahmad, for leading the prayer recitation. Now, without further ado, I would like to welcome the President of Delta, Mr. Zanurin bin Muhammad Safa, to deliver his speech.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And I wish a very good day to all of you ladies and gentlemen. First of all, Yang Berhormat Dr. Muhammad Taufik bin Tan Sri Johari, the Member of Parliament of Sungai Petani, Yang Bersaha Mr. Ahmadi bin Abdullah, Deputy District Education Officer, Learning Sector, Kuala Mudayan District Education Office, who is representing the Director of Kedah Education Department, Madam Nur Hayati binti Abdullah, the Deputy President of Delta, Madam Ruzila binti Amin Hamzah, Vice President of Delta for Tertiary, our distinguished keynote speakers, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to DIFL 2023. First of all, I wish to share with all of you some information about Delta, Darul Aman English Language Learning and Teaching Association. It was established in 2019 as an NGO, as a non-governmental organization. I would say we are still young. If you would count, how old are we? 4 years old. Yeah, we are still young. Today is actually our third international conference with a new name. For sure, ladies and gentlemen, Delta's ability to organize this conference is mainly due to the great teamwork. Yes, I would like to repeat, great teamwork among its community members. For sure, definitely. So my speech today will be thanking many people. So first of all, I must thank my deputy president, my sister, Kak Yati, Kak Enot, Madam Nur Hati bin Jamullah, who has always been giving her best to Delta. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Madam Nur Hayati is the retired SISC plus officer, but she's never tired. Yes, she is retired, but she is never tired. My special thanks also go to all the committed, highly committed committee members who, for sure, are our pillars of success. Ladies and gentlemen, this conference will not be a reality without the presence of you, and you, ladies and gentlemen. All right? So I'm proud to say here we do have participants, presenters who come all the way from Sabah and Sarawak. Thank you so much for joining the from the bottom of our heart, not only my heart, from our heart. We would like to thank you for your support, for your commitment. And to all the keynote speakers, we are so grateful for your presence and your willingness to share with all of us your expertise and vast knowledge. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I repeat only today, we also have a special showcase involving 7 schools from various districts in Kedah. I'm sure you have visited the booth. Here, I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate and to thank all the students, all the teachers involved in the showcase, because I know you have worked so hard, you have prepared so much. In short, boys and girls, especially the students, all of you are awesome. We are proud of you. Ladies and gentlemen, Delta would also like to thank Mr. Ahmadi bin Abdullah, who is here to represent the Director of Kedah Education Department. Mr. Ahmadi, your presence makes our event more meaningful. And last but not least, our warm gratitude goes to the one and only, the Right Honorable Dr. Muhammad Taufik bin Tan Sri Johari for his commitment and support, and to be with us today despite his hectic schedule. In fact, Dr. Taufik just informed me he just came back from Kuala Lumpur after attending the Parliament session. As all of you can see, yes, he is young. Okay, he's very young. In fact, he is 1 year younger than my eldest son. Okay, despite his young age, ladies and gentlemen, YB Dr. Muhammad Taufik always gives his best to the society, including in the development of education. YB, you inspire us. Ladies and gentlemen, we truly hope that GITEL 2023 will offer all of you a platform not only to enhance your professionalism, not only to enrich your knowledge, but it also offers a platform for all of you, for all of us to establish friendship and professional networking. And of course, we hope at the end of the conference, all of us will be better English language educators who can give the best to our learners. So before I end my speech, on behalf of Delta, we would like to extend our sincere apology for any hiccups and weaknesses on our part. As you could see earlier, the pay system was not helping us. We did our rehearsal, ladies and gentlemen. It worked fantastic during rehearsal. It happens. All right. So hopefully no more major hiccups after this. Once again, I would like to thank all of you. Delta cannot spell success without you. Yes, all of you. So with that note, happy Conference Day and enjoy your stay in Singapore country.
Thank you, Mr. Zanri, for your speech. Now, I would like to welcome the Deputy District Education Officer, Learning Sector, Kuala Muda District Education Office, Mr. Ahmadi bin Abdullah, to deliver his speech.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Madam Chairperson, for giving me this opportunity to address the audience today. Very good morning, I need to Right Honorable Mr. Dr. Muhammad Taufik bin Nasri Zohri, members of Parliament Sri. My warmest thanks I extend to Mr. Zahri bin Muhammad Safar, President of Darul Aman English Language Learning and Teaching Association, Delta, for this wonderful opportunity given to me and address the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the floor, it is indeed a pleasure for me to be here and be part of this highly exciting occasion where the first Delta International Conference on English language teaching is being held. On behalf of the Kedah State Education Department, I congratulate Delta, the organizers of this conference who are Merah Kedah educators. I understand that most of them are practicing teachers, yet they could still find this amid this busy schedule to organize and even such of this to benefit both education in general and educators significantly in field of English language teaching. To the presenters, both local and international, I would like to say congratulations and thank you. Because the sharing that you will definitely contribute to the listeners' lifelong learning, continuous professional development, and the strive to improve the skill in this rapidly changing time of the world today. I know that writing is never easy. Putting our thought on paper requires passion and diligence and continuous process that sometimes puts some reasonable amount of stress on us. But as educators, it's something that we must always strive to do. It is only then that we can share all the experience and knowledge that we have gained from our practices in class with others. The sharing practices from writing and from paper Representation on a platform such the ICEL 2023 will remain for a lifetime for everyone to read and gain from. As teaching professional, the classroom practices and researchers carried out are also reflective of action of our practices. All of these are done with the sole intention of improving ourselves and consequently our students' performance as well. Being reflective practitioners is a right step toward continuous improvement that we encourage so that education will benefit. Ladies and gentlemen, the theme of empowering teachers of deep learning as propounded by this conference is highly pertinent given the VUCA world we live today. Our students are even now being exposed to the swift pace of changing technologies, the highly connected societies, and the demand of being creative and innovative when faced with challenging situations. They must be prepared for an even more challenging future, which, if we are able to prepare them for it, will put them good stead for their successful future. Therefore, I am extremely happy to see that Delta is encouraging our English language educators worldwide to take up the challenge of being in front when carrying this heavy burden of expectations to create a better society for the future. Many of our students today. All these are well and good for professionalism to our teachers, and I thank Delta again for taking this initiative to provide this opportunity for our teachers, both local from abroad. Again, congratulations to all presenters, participants, and Delta for this worthy event and not forgetting. And big thank you to the Right Honorable Dr. Muhammad Taufik bin Tan Sri Johari for showing us your support for education and English language teaching and learning in Kedah. May this confidence bears the fruits is set out to harvest. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Ahmadi, for the encouraging and motivating speech. Ladies and gentlemen, now we're going to watch a short video related to today's conference.
Hi, Shirley. How are you today? What do you want from your teachers?
I want knowledgeable teachers.
The teacher one.
I want more knowledge.
From the teacher.
I'm learning.
What do you want from a teacher? What do you want from a teacher? What do you want from your teacher? You want from a teacher? What do you want from a teacher? You want from a teacher? From a teacher? Want from a teacher?
I want a teacher that doesn't give up on homework.
When I see you, I lost my room, I turn into another guy. I never know what to say to you, but I just know you feel the same. I can see it in your eyes. You know that you start telling me. You could be my paradise, I'd be here tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, now we come to the moment we've been waiting for. Let us all welcome Dr. Taufik on the stage to deliver his speech and officiate our event today.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin sayyidina wa maulana Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Thank you to the distinguished professor for allowing me this wonderful chance to address the audience on this blessed Friday. A very good morning. I give the representative of the Director of Kedah State Education Department, Mr. Ahmadi from PPD Kuala Mudayan. My warmest greetings to Mr. Zamrin bin Muhammad Safar, President of Darul Aman English Language Learning and Teaching Association or DELTA, and members of the Prof. Ladies and gentlemen, issues of youth, health and education are always very close to my heart. And so when I was invited to officiate this conference, I was indeed very happy to accept the invitation, as it will give me a very great opportunity to meet with incredible teachers and educators, not just from the state of Kedah, but this being an international conference. I'm meeting teachers and educators from all over the world. So this is an honor and opportunity that I definitely do not want to miss. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to congratulate Delta, the organizer of this conference, who I'm sure have worked very hard to put their plans into action. Knowing that the committee members are mostly still working as full-time educators, finding the time to call for presenters, getting the keynote speakers, putting the full papers together, and basically doing all the required preparations to ensure that this conference takes off successfully is surely not easy. Secondly, I seize this opportunity to congratulate the Kedah State Education Department for the role played in supporting this conference. All good efforts must be supported, especially so when it involves rewarding everyone. The close relationship that the State Education Department must have with an organization like Delta can only bear delightful fruits. The opportunity created by this international conference presents a chance for our English language teachers and educators to meet, listen, and discuss with others who bring their own perspective of classroom experience into our teachers' collection, pedagogical and skills and knowledge. And all this happened under the concept of lifelong learning that we want our teachers to embrace and practice. The final recipients will benefit from this good relationship will of course be our future generations who are now in the classroom. The future of our beloved nation in the hands of today's educators and teachers. Empowering, ladies and gentlemen, empowering teaching for deep learning as the theme for this international conference will have come at a bad time. Each and every one of us had just gone through a worldwide pandemic of COVID-19, during which time online learning was pushed to the fore. Ensuring that our students have media literacy, information and communication literacy, that they can think critically and creatively, and that they can analyze and evaluate wisely. All these are expected from teachers today, apart from teaching the actual contents of various subjects in the national curriculum. These are all tall orders that society expects from our teachers and educators. Hence, whether the teachers and educators are ready or not, they must be well versed with the demands of today's world. And having conferences such as these will indeed help our teachers and our educators to be well prepared for the challenges coming their ways. If our teachers not given this opportunity to meet up and exchange ideas with others from different parts of the society and world, we are limiting their chances to hear firsthand how others tackle challenges in their own classroom. As I always say, a leader is created by design, not by default. And in front of me is actually the one who must take full responsibility to design this country, to design the future of our nation, to design our students, because the future of this nation is in our hands. Once again, I express my delight at being here with all of you, and I wish that this conference will be a start even more rewarding episodes to come for presenters and participants from outside of Kedah or Sungai Petani. For that matter, I pray that your stay here will not only be meaningful and rewarding, but also be memorable, sweet, and safe. I look forward to more chances of meeting with teachers and educators in the future, as I'm convinced of the fact that teachers and educators are the backbone of the society and nation. And with that, in the name of Allah, most beneficent and most merciful, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, it gives me great pleasure to declare the first Delta International Conference on English Language Teaching 2023 officially open. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the wonderful speech, Dr. Taufik. I believe we will feel encouraged and to strive harder in terms of our professional development growth. Now, please remain on the stage.
Empowering teaching for deep learning.
Now we would like to welcome Mr. Zanurin, the President of Delta, on the stage to accompany Dr. Taufik to strike the gong 3 times to officiate the ICAL 2023. With that, the conference is officially open. Next is the certificate presentation ceremony for the schools involved in the showcase exhibition. For your information, there are 7 schools which have participated in this exhibition. You can take a look at them at the back of the room. Ladies and gentlemen, the hard work and dedication of these students in completing their project-based learning activity that we can see today definitely deserve praise, as it demonstrates their deep understanding and also creativity towards the given topic. Now, Delta would like to give the honor to the Honorable Dr. Taufik, accompanied by the President of Delta, to present the certificates to the school students involved. The schools involved are SJKT, Somasandram, SMK Keladi, SMK K. Johari, SMK Jirai, SMK Pendang, SMK Megatewa, and last but not least, SMK Batu 17. Thank you very much, Dr. Taufik. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, as a token of remembrance and gratitude, we now invite Mr. Zanurin, the President of Delta, to present the token of appreciation to the honored guest of the day, the Honorable Dr. Muhammad Taufik bin Tan Sri Johari. Thank you, Mr. President. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let us enjoy the montage that we have prepared for you today. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the floor, we have come to the end of our ceremony for today. Before we bid farewell, we would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to all the invited guests and individuals who were and are directly and indirectly involved in making this event a success. On behalf of the working committee, we humbly ask for forgiveness and apologize for any shortcomings on our part. Lastly, we hope you will enjoy the conference as much as we enjoy putting it together for you. and organizing it for you. From us, Delta, to you. With that, I thank you. Those who need transport for Jummah prayer, please come to the front to meet Mr. Ahmad. If any of you need transportation to ferry you to the nearby mosque, please come to the front to meet to see Mr. Ahmad. Thank you.